I've been kind of bummed the past few weeks. I've been sick, and I hate being sick. Nothing makes me more sad and stressed than being sick. I've been very, very busy. I'm getting close to graduating, so I've been stressing about that, and I'm very exhausted right now. So for this video, I wanted to talk about something light and something pleasant and something gendery, because we haven't talked about gender for a while. As difficult and as scary as being trans can be sometimes in today's world, it's also a really beautiful experience, and I wanted to share some of the ways it's been that way for me. I think first and foremost, and this isn't something I was able to really appreciate right away, it took a long time, but transitioning definitely made me a more introspective person, especially at such a young age. I mean, I was journaling at like 9, 10, 11 pretty regularly because it was the only way I knew how to get my thoughts out and how to organize my thoughts. I, for better or for worse, really felt like I had to prove myself to the world and I needed to know who I was. And while that caused quite a bit of stress and has definitely created some unhealthy communication habits that I'm still learning to undo, it also did give me a really solid sense of self. I had to look inward a lot. I had a lot I felt like I needed to understand. And I think that's something that, honestly, if I had not been pushed to do, I never would have done. One of the other harder parts of my transition, that need for escape and for expressing some of the things I didn't understand yet, also made me a much stronger artist later down the line. I, for one, am not somebody who believes you need to be going through the worst time in your life in order to make good art. I think good art comes from a lot of work, a lot of practice, and a lot of intentional thought. That being said, my transition and the struggle that ensued caused me to realize just how much I could express with art. You know, I wrote, I think, some of the songs I'm most proud of about transitioning, some of the very few poems I've written, and that sort of need for escapism to get out of my current reality helped me realize how much beauty there was in the pretend. Some of my greatest passions I still hold today, whether that's making movies and telling stories, or even things like D&D, I think comes from that early escapism that I'm still holding on to. I love fan art. I love fan art so much. A friend of mine and I talk about this a lot, that there's a lot of queer people in fan art and a lot of queer people in cosplay and in nerdy communities, because initially it's an escape. For me, cosplay was definitely a way to escape my gender and embody a character for a while, and so was writing. I would usually write from the perspective of male protagonists. But as I got older, things like storytelling became a profession. And it's kind of twofold. I mean, on the one hand, I was escaping into a lot of these fictional worlds and then writing my own stories about them, exploring my own characters, and that kind of led me to art. And then on the other hand, I was watching a lot of YouTube videos by trans people, and specifically by trans guys, then tried my own hand at it and realized I really liked storytelling through video. I liked setting up shots, I liked working with cameras, and that also led me to art. And, you know, I think if I went back and told past me all of this stuff, little version of Connor would be very upset. You know, at the time, it was just like, hey, this is what I'm doing to get by. Like, I wish I didn't have to spend like 8+ hours on the computer because it was the only space I felt comfortable. But all that time being very alone and a little bit sad also led me to discovering some really amazing things, and I wouldn't be who I am today. I wouldn't be making the things I am today without that experience. Having your gender affirmed for the first time is a very unique and beautiful experience, and it's a little bit different for everybody. For me, it was a lot of physical things. Things like starting tea. I mean, I think there aren't a lot of cis people in the world who will tell you that they enjoyed puberty, but a lot of trans people do. Seeing my stubble come in, seeing how my body and muscles are changing even today, hearing my voice drop, like voice cracks for something I was excited about, that is an experience wholly unique to being queer, and it's a really wonderful one. It's not just physical either, though. Things like name and pronoun affirmations, legal name changes if that's what you pursue, or even just changing your wardrobe can be so wonderful. Like, I will never forget the first time that my dad called me his son in front of other people, or I will never forget my first tux. There are all sorts of ways that we can experience gender affirmations, but just that, like, that glow, that radiating feeling inside of you is so, so wonderful, and it's something that, it's like these little moments that sprinkle throughout your life that just bring a lot of joy, at least to me. Now, this one is very much something that I hold as a privilege as a cis-passing person. Not everybody has this experience, and I totally understand that. But for me, coming out as somebody who's cis-passing in the day-to-day kind of feels like a superpower. There is something very empowering of being able to step in and say, actually, as somebody who was raised female, this was my experience, and like, sexism is real, because Ho ho ho, how many men will only listen to people like me when I say that is very frustrating, but making them listen is very gratifying. Or being able to step in and tell somebody, hey, I'm trans and not every trans person does this, or that's not exactly how it works, and just seeing their eyes widen. I do get a lot of joy and a lot of satisfaction of being able to surprise people and force them to question their perception of what a trans person looks like, or how gender works, or how trans people act or talk, because you can't define it as one particular thing, and being able to show somebody that, and show somebody in a way that embarrasses them a little bit, so the message really sinks in, is really nice. I like it. While transitioning and coming out as queer is a very unique experience to every individual, and also just kind of as an experience itself, it's something I think a lot of people can relate to. I mean, everybody goes through changes in their life. We all go through various transitions, and that struggle has been something I can use to relate to other people, whether it's body issues, whether it's struggling to understand oneself and come to terms with oneself, whether it's just change. And I could not tell you how many times I've been able to pull from my past experiences in order to kind of understand somebody else's. Regardless of whether or not they're queer at all, that experience has allowed us to find common ground. But I really get a lot of joy from being able to relate to other trans people. I've had the wonderful opportunity with this platform, no matter how small it may be, to reach out to some young queer folks and help as much as I can through their journey and their experience, and seeing friends in my personal life go through their own journeys. I love nothing more than those 2 a.m. talks of just hashing out gender and being able to make somebody comfortable enough to tell me hey, I'm not sure about this, or I don't really know what I'm doing, and to be able to say, that's okay, I've been there, I get it, let's talk about it. The same thing happened to me, or here's what I went through, and this is my experience. Tell me more about yours. What do you need? I can just be a listening ear and somebody who understands what you're feeling. Those conversations are so beautiful and so wonderful, and I would not give up being trans ever for those moments. They are so, so special and dear to me. And the very last thing I love about being trans is that queer people are super dope. I have met so many wonderful artists, creators, educators, academics, athletes, just interesting people just from being queer. It's this wonderful foundation and common ground we've had, and I've found, not to be biased, but to be biased, that because of what I mentioned at the very beginning of this video with that introspection, queer people are super freaking cool. A lot of us have been through a lot and have had to really think hard about who we are, and it's led to some amazing creativity and some amazing projects and thoughts and ideas. And those are relationships I don't think I would have if I had never questioned my gender identity. In the words of so many middle school, high school, college presentations. So yeah, those are just some scattered thoughts of things I love about being trans. Talking about this made me feel a lot better personally. It's very cathartic. And hopefully it was for you too, at least a little bit. If you have anything you want to share about what your identity has led you to, what beautiful experiences you've had because of it, please do. I'd love to talk about it. And if I have any great message or words of wisdom, it's that it's okay to question, and it's okay to not know. That uncertainty, if you nurture it, kind of acts as a seed, this little seed of doubt that turns into creative thought, turns into new ideas, turns into new understandings about yourself and about the world. It can become something really beautiful if you allow it to grow. Thank you for watching. My name's Connor O'Keefe. I make videos about gender, and I also have a show called The Creative Rep that airs every Monday, where I talk about art, creativity, and the creative process, often with a lot of queer people. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your time and energy, and I will see you for the next video.